And that would be Mr. Nat King Cole introducing Unforgettable, which is, of course, what Viewpoint is. Welcome to Viewpoint, your program of personalities, politicians, and perspectives. I certainly have a nice personality this morning. We're going to have a little perspective on books and reading and so forth. Which leads me right away to the kudo.
But
it would appear to me it would be appropriate that we just make our kudo this morning to all of the folks at the library who do such a great job for us. Those of you who do not make yourselves available to the library, make the library available to you, are missing something indeed. It's just a gem here. We're so lucky to have that. Mr. Summerall did an outstanding job. Judy and I were talking on a car coming up here this morning. What a breath of fresh air he's been since he got here, and how the library has improved and changed. And so it's got to be our kudo this morning. How about that? Would that work?
Yes, I think that's perfect, and that is true.
Right,
we were talking about it. I don't know whether the whole idea of library science had changed. It had evolved into something new about the time Richard came. But my gosh, I tell you what, he's the berries.
Transformed that library.
Are you crazy about him, Jessie?
You know, I have to say that I do support a lot of what Richard does, and he is especially awesome at supporting what we do with the children's library. I know he's constantly coming into my office and asking what he can do to help us so that we can reach more kids and help them to fall in love with reading and spend more time at the library and help them to get to our programs and do things with us.
I can imagine that's exactly true.
My dear, it occurs to me that it would probably be appropriate to introduce our guest.
I think I will. And her name is Jessie Sweeney. And she is the children's librarian. And I was reading this morning, and I thought, man, what a good idea. Today, at the library annex, which is across the alley from the Carnegie building, they're having, once again, music and movement.
Correct.
And it's for ages 6 months to 5 years. And it's at 10 at the library annex, and then it's followed by Mom's Meetup. Join us after music and movement for time with other parents while your children explore our interactive play area in the annex building. Now, what a darn good idea that is. What if you were a new young mother in town and you didn't really know anybody? Here you got a system of people that all have little kids just like you have. You have so much in common to talk about and form friendships over.
Yeah, that was the entire spirit behind that idea. It was actually Sam, one of the other youth service librarians, was talking to some of the moms as she started working at the library and discovered that we had at least 4 or 5 moms who were coming in once a week who were new to the Lincoln area. And especially me being new to the Lincoln area myself, we jumped on that and said, you know, what if we did something to help these moms to meet other moms? Especially, it's hard when you have little ones at home that aren't in school yet and you're home with them all day and getting out and meeting people. So Sam said, I'm going to take this and I'm going to run with it. So we are, after our music and movement classes every other week throughout the month of October, we are going to have Moms Meetup, where we're going to have some snacks, we're going to have toys out for the kids to entertain themselves, we're going to have drinks, just a
That's
time.
brave with a bunch of little people.
All drinks that have lids on them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
We're primarily sticking to water bottles and coffee cups we can put a lid on because, as you said, there's a lot of little ones running.
They are mess makers.
You know,
They are, and they get into everything.
Oh, yeah, I remember it well.
I'd like to establish Jessica's credentials, as they say, so to speak. How did you come by? First place, did you major in library science or anything? Tell me your background, honey.
So I actually did not major in library sciences. My bachelor's degree is in psychology.
I knew there was something funny about her.
So my focus has always been working with children. Special needs kids have always been really close to my heart. So I majored in psychology because I wanted to help kids who otherwise were not being helped, specifically through psychology, looking more at the mental health side. But I have worked with kids for years. And then when I graduated, I decided to pursue a Master's of Religious Education. So I'm actually currently a Lincoln Christian Seminary student working on a Master's of Religious Education. So while I don't technically have formal education in library, a lot of my degrees do help with working with young kids, and like the Master's in Religious Education is more focused on church and doing ministry, but a lot of that degree looks at how do we engage people where they're at, how do we work with kids throughout different developmental cycles. And because it is an education degree, it helps me a lot when I'm in the library looking at, okay, now how can I help these kids to learn? How can I best talk to them and help them to grow?
And that's so important in today's world, that they have somebody who's showing them how to learn, how to behave, all these kinds of things that they're going to need for their whole life.
You know, Joe and Josephine Smith, as they go about their business around the courthouse square or wherever, I don't think they have an understanding of what goes on there at the libraries, with particular reference to programs for children. I was in there within the last year, and some gentleman was in there, and all these little rugrats sitting down, and he had them just entranced with what he was doing. And I noted that in his stick, his feel was back and forth with the youngsters, that he brought in things as courtesies, using the words please and thank you, and the basic stuff that unfortunately some kids don't get. I just thought, and that's just one example. There are a lot of ongoing programs for children, and by the way, that annex, it's about a few years old, but it's a magnificent thing for us. Those of us who are older and don't have much to do except look at ourselves, which is not very pleasant. A lot of great movies in there. Me, naturally, I go to the old movies. But they're so helpful in both the library proper and the annex. I go in there and ask for a book, and they come in, but they'll get it within a week, and it's a great service.
Yeah, there's a lot that I found, especially becoming involved in Lincoln's community, and we have a different kind of library than one I've ever interacted with. I'd kind of like to highlight some of the services we do have, because a lot of people think, oh, the library, I can just go check out books, and they don't realize how much programming we do.
That's exactly right.
So just on a day-to-day basis, we do have an interactive play area for kids. We have toys that are age level appropriate that help them to explore and learn. So we have different things like trucks. We have a felt board that we change about every month what's on it. So right now it's got fruits and vegetables in it. So you can sit with your kids, and they're felt, so they stick to the board. So they can rearrange them on the board, and you can help them sort them fruits and vegetables, or by color, or any sort of thing that you want. We have computers that anyone can use. So we have computers that have access to the internet and Microsoft Word, specifically more for the older kids, that if they need them to do homework, they can come in and they can do their homework at the library in a nice quiet place. But we also have 3 computers for the little kids that are touchscreen computers that are loaded with educational games. So there's games that help them engage with math. They can actually have a book read to them on the computer. So it goes by kind of like a movie would, but it highlights the words at the bottom, so they can still, and they're hearing it, so they can still kind of follow along, and even though they can't read it yet themselves, it helps to get them some recognition of words and highlighting which words are being spoken. Those computers also have some games that help them learn about history. They help them learn typing skills, and they're just loaded with educational things. And that's just stuff that we have every day at the library that anyone can come in at any time and utilize. On top of that, we do 6-week spans of programming for all the age groups, starting with 6 months old. Right now, our program for 6 months to 5 years, as you mentioned, is music and movement, where it's 20 minutes And the kids come in and we have noisemakers and we sing songs and we dance. It is a program that parents are required to be out with their kids. You can't just drop them off and leave. But even the parents have all kinds of fun dancing and going along with different rhymes and helping the kids to get up and move. From there, we moved to our STREAM team. This is a kindergarten through second grade program that actually kicked off this Monday. And in that, we're working on STEM projects, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We have little robots that we teach them how to do some coding with computers with. And they don't always recognize what it is, but they have a lot of fun working with them and trying to draw the colored lines and figure out what each color makes the robots do. This week we made our own pinball machines. So we took plates and some craft supplies and they could make little bars on them, and then had to take a marble and try to get the marble through the track. And lots of hands-on activities that we're not just handing them a set of directions and saying, here, you're going to do this and then you're going to do this. It's like, let's help you explore. Let's see what you can build and what you can come up with on your own. And the kids really like that. From there we go to our Explorer Club, which is 3rd through 5th grade, and they do really similar things as STREAM does. They kick off tomorrow at 3:30, and their first project is we're making density columns. So they're going to see we have different colored liquids that have different densities, and they're going to get to play with them and try to figure out how they're going to even out in a bottle. And we're even going to have graduated cylinders and things that they can feel like real scientists while they're doing this and have fun with it.
Jim, do you get the impression she's enthusiastic about her work? I'm sitting here kind of slack-jawed listening to all this. It's more than the library where you get Droll Tales by Balzac. I mean, we think of the library and we think, well, we go out and check out books there. And nobody realizes the significance of the programs, and particular with reference to the young. I was amazed when you said 6 months. What in the world how are they going to get a 6 month attention, But building is starting the bottom groundwork.
It's just all so changed.
And when
our kids were little, they just survived the 3-4 hours between bottles. That was their life. This is just absolutely marvelous. People who have little kids are missing the boat if they don't take advantage.
Well, the bottom line is the taxpayers are getting a huge return for their buck as far as library tax is concerned. Huge returns. Now, why did you come aboard with this, young lady?
Well, as I mentioned, I've always loved kids and I've always loved helping them. I've
That's
also
evident, yeah.
always loved to read. And I was actually a nanny in Lincoln while I was an undergraduate student at LCU. And so I took the kids to a lot of the programming at the library. And it just had me enraptured with how involved it is and how much it tries to hit different ages and has all kinds of programming. Even if you go to our story times, you don't just sit and watch someone read a book to you. Our little story times, we have felt boards that we help them to act out the story. We do little finger plays. The kids are always involved. It's never just us sitting and reading to them and them listening. And that amazed me. It was something that I knew I loved and that I would love to be a part of. So when I saw the job position open, I decided that, this is something that would be so much fun and that I would love to do. So I decided to go ahead and apply, thinking that working with kids and being in a library every day and working with books would be a passion that I would love to bring light to. And so I did it, and here I am now.
Well, what a gift you are to them, because your passion for this is going to be very infectious, I assure you. Right?
Do they still teach kids how to use the Dewey Decimal System, or is that gone by the board?
We still do use the Dewey Decimal System in our nonfiction sections. A lot of the kids don't know how to use it, but anytime they need to find a book, we do help them find it. And a lot of times I'll show them when we're showing them the books, okay, so see, this is kind of what this entire section's about. So a lot of them that I get is they're looking for a specific animal. And I can say, this entire set of numbers, or this entire set on the shelf is all about animals. Mm-hmm. And help them to dig a little bit deeper. But overall, they tend to not know much about the Dewey Decimal System. I'm not sure a lot would recognize
Judy thinks
them.
it was named for Tom Dewey, presidential candidate. Now,
Maybe I voted for him.
yeah, I hope so. Now, is there one pressing problem that you're now trying to solve, Jessica? You get so involved in this, and I can see this. It's just spontaneous with you. Lord, she'd make a wonderful babysitter, wouldn't she?
Oh, wow.
Any pressing problems that you'd like to get solved there?
Right now, honestly, our biggest problem that we're dealing with is trying to get more attention to the library. I was actually talking with someone yesterday, and the phrase that stuck out to me that they said was, the library is one of the best hidden gems that Lincoln has to offer.
Yes,
Sure is.
it's true.
And it was someone who has been a resident of Lincoln their whole life. And I looked at them and asked what they meant, and when they clarified, they said, you know, I didn't know about it until we stumbled upon some of the programming. I wish more people knew what all you guys did. So we're looking right now and saying, what other ways can we get information out? Because we'd love to see more kids come to our programs. We'd love more people to know what we do, and that we are more than just a place to come and check out books, that we do have a place that kids can come and play. We have computers that they can use, even the little ones, and that we have more books and audiobooks, and we have DVDs that they can rent. So just trying to get more traffic through the library and more people aware of what programs we offer.
People might wonder how the library operates. We know we got Richard Summerall and his great staff, but behind them and backing them up and making suggestions and or changes, you have a great board of trustees for our library.
Yes, we do.
Headed by my dear friend Libby Anderson,
Oh.
whose daddy and I were high school classmates.
Yes,
So
you were.
So, and we have Nancy Saul, Elaine Morris, Keith Leisman, my young friend down at the end of the alley there on Union
Yes.
Street, Bill Vineyard, and Stu Churchill.
Oh, well.
You've got a really solid board,
Yeah, you have.
very much so.
We do. The board definitely supports us in a lot of what we do and helps us to make the library better. They're very supportive of helping us move forward and learning new things. And from my interactions with them so far, they've always just wanted to see the library progress and wanted to see us do the best we can with what we have. So I have to agree with you that the Board of Trustees has to be one of the good parts of the library.
Well, speaking of good people, you have great trustees. We also have great sponsors. And Mr. Ash is going to seg into the sponsorship right now, and we'll be right back live in a few seconds here. Right back live in the studios here at WLCN. The program is Viewpoint, of course, each Wednesday morning at 8:15 to 0900 hours. Off air, we were discussing with Jessie about her career, and she suggested at one time she was thinking going to California. Boy, sure glad you didn't go out there here. They're all loony out there. So, I mean, you're much too stable to be out there.
Well, I'm glad to think so. I love Illinois.
Now, go ahead, Judith K., please.
I wanted to ask you, Jessie, tomorrow, the 4th,
Excuse me, please.
you have Explorer Club at 3:30, and that's for kids in grades 3 through 5.
Yes.
Now, what are you going to do? What are you going to explore with them?
Tomorrow we're exploring density. So we're looking at what do liquids weigh and how will they settle if we put liquids that weigh different amounts that have different densities into the same jar. What happens? So we're going to watch colors mix, and then they'll watch them separate into different layers again.
I bet they love that.
We'll see. I'm hoping that they do. And that's led by Miss Teagan, one of the other youth services workers. As with anyone, I have a wonderful staff that I work with. There are 4 of us in the youth services department, and so all of us take a part in some of the programming. The final one that I haven't actually mentioned yet is Michelle, and she does a lot of our young adult stuff, so our 6th through 12th grade. Her next big event coming up is we're doing a live escape room for grades 6 through 12 on October 25th and October 31st. So kids can call and sign up. We're taking groups of 4, and they're going to have a half hour to figure out the evil librarian's plan and save the world. So what happens if you aren't familiar with an escape room is we give them a scenario. In this one, they stumble into the basement of the Carnegie building and they discover a file folder that seems to be a little off. So they open it and find that the librarians are plotting to take over the world. So the students get 30 minutes to figure out a series of clues to get into the lockbox and to save the world from our evil plan.
From the evil librarian.
Yes. Of course, this is entirely a fabricated scenario. It's supposed to be fun for the kids, but escape rooms are getting more and more popular, so we decided we wanted to put one together and are hoping that we have a good turnout of 6th through 12th grade coming to enjoy and work together as a team and use logic to solve a puzzle.
Oh, I don't
How
know anything
fun.
more. That's a pretty high objective. Get kids involved at that age, and it gets those little minds working and twirling, and that's just a really productive kind of a program for them.
Yeah, we have a lot of programs that we have for them try to engage that sort of a thing. We have some coming up in November and December too. We're gonna work with them to do, in November we're doing a media night. So we're trying to get someone to come in and give them some instruction on how to publish some good media. And then as a follow-up to that, in December, we're going to have an event where they get to submit movies that they've made, and we're going to come together and have a film festival where they get to watch little short 2-3 minute movies that they get to make. We're going to show them on a screen and let them sit and watch and just have a night right after finals where they can hang out and enjoy what they have done and what they have produced and spend some time looking at what they're capable of.
I think that sounds like a ton of fun. I like your program that you're going to be doing here on the midterm elections. They hear it. If they've got a television in their house, it's on the news all the time.
Oh, that's don't expose those kids to these damn politicians.
But maybe they can learn now what in the world we're doing and why it goes in this order and so forth. That great.
Is the entire spirit behind that program. It's actually what we refer to as a passive program. So it's not going to be us sitting and lecturing at them and telling them what to think, but we're providing materials for them so that they can look and learn what are some good sources to get information from. Where can I learn about the election? What does an election look like? We're looking at our 17, 18-year-olds primarily going, they've never voted before. So we're trying to get something to show them, what does a sample ballot look like? What are you expected to do when you come in to vote? And then something that is lesser known is the library is actually somewhere you can get registered to vote. And we're going to try to help them do that for the ones that are old enough to do so. And help to provide them with materials and resources that help them to be a more interactive member of our community and help them to become involved.
One question that I, who am not 17 or 18 anymore,
I noted that.
would like to ask, Bill, you're mean, is there some way you can teach them to dig through all this information so that they can come to the truth? I'm big into truth.
That is actually one of the biggest focuses of this. We're working currently on compiling a list of places that they can dig through and get information that is going to be true good information, that is not just information that is getting thrown around. What we see a lot is if it's posted on social media, that is their biggest form of information. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, things like that. So we're trying to push them to go beyond that and to look for good sources that have quality information. And we're going to try to help provide them with some of those sources ourselves.
That's a great idea, because there's so much information out there, and how do you know how to dig through it?
Well, what you're purporting to do, not purporting to, what you are doing, is you've taken over what education should do. You have a basic civics class I haven't heard the word civics in a curriculum for a long time. And of course, that's the very grassroots of it all. To understand how these elections are held and learn how to cut through some of the BS that's out there, which is a major job.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, that is definitely something. I know I had to take a civics class in high school. I'm not sure what the requirements at Lincoln are. And I know that they discuss it in some of the history classes, how the Electoral College came to be and all of those things. But to a lot of regard, I think politics have changed the way that they're done in the country recently with the internet and all of that. And schools have so much more that they're trying to teach kids in the school day along with anything that has been done before. So I think it is hard on an educator's part to get the kids all of the information that they need. And from all the classes I've taken in my education classes, a lot of what we talk about is a lot of what's changed in education is we're equipping kids to find information instead of just handing it to them. Because now most every teenager has a smartphone that if they need to know what's the square root of 15, they can type it in really quickly. Or if they need to know what scientist created this, they can look it up. So a big job of education has become helping them to learn how to get information rather than just having them memorize information. So that's something that we're jumping along with too, and helping them. How can we help you to know how to find good information and use what is already out there instead of just asking you to memorize?
To give information would be kind of an archaic exposure because it changes day to day. You've got to have right up to the minute stuff.
Speaking of history, there's one feature of the library which does not allude to what our conversation is this morning. However, it's a very important part of the library services. And for those who are into genealogy or just history, we have these films, microfiche films, that they can go back there if they want to go to Courier 1918 on September 23rd. They can do that. And it takes a little time. Takes a lot of time, but it's an invaluable research tool for a lot of people. And my problem is I get on one of those and I forget why I'm there, and I just want to read. I just want to read about what went on that particular day. But it's a great service, and I noticed that's used quite a bit too, Jessie.
Yeah, it's not one that I directly have much interaction with.
No, it's on your other side of the aisle for you.
Yeah. But from what I hear, it's a great tool that is utilized a lot.
Judith and I were talking about librarians that we've known in the past, and she can't go back beyond Chris Gilson. I'll go back a lot further than that. I go back to Ida Webster in the 30s, so, where she would tap her pencil. Shh.
Oh yes.
Now you don't have that in the library.
Yeah, our library actually gets a little loud at times because we have the interactive area for kids, and there are times we have a dozen or so kids in there, or even when we have programming happening. Just this Monday, we had 14 kids in our community room in the annex for Stream Team. And I knew they were loud. And I knew they could hear them throughout the library, but the kids were having fun and learning. So I said, I'm just going to let them have fun. They're not yelling, they're not running, but we embrace that they're kids, and they don't just sit quietly, and we know that. And we're not concerned about the fact that kids make a little bit of noise.
Don't you think that the old way of doing library turned young kids off completely? To have somebody shushing you the whole time you're there?
Yeah, I definitely think, especially with young ones, sometimes it is necessary for older kids, because once we get our junior high schoolers in after school gets out and they're coming over to do their homework, they do need it to be quiet because they need somewhere that they can focus. But during the day when we have our littles there, when we have our under fives, we know that they're going to make noise. And if we were shushing them, they wouldn't have fun. They wouldn't think that the library was somewhere they could go to play and enjoy it. They would just think of it as having to be quiet, and that's hard for them to do. They're not there yet developmentally.
Well, not only that, but the more excited and the happier they are, the more noisy they get. So that's a good barometer for you.
They do. Now, sometimes we do have to bring the noise level down a little bit.
But you used two words earlier. We used the word "and learn." Well, what's more important?
Right.
You know.
Learning.
Yeah, exactly. And you're getting these youngsters at a very impressionable age, which is something I don't think people really realize, that we're taking youngsters at a very, very impressionable age, at young ages, and we're getting them in there, and we're getting them to participate and learn how to look up books. And I don't think you can teach them that too young.
I don't think so either. In fact, we have 2 events coming up that are for all ages. From the youngest we go is typically about 6 months, all the way through their parents. So on November 13th and 15th, we have, November 13th is World Kindness Day. So we're going to be doing a program where they can come in and write notes to people and put them in a box that are all about kindness. Complimenting people, things that can be hopeful, that can just brighten someone's day. So they can write those notes, they can take those notes, and that's going to be an all-day event on November 13th at the library. So I highly encourage everyone to come into the Annex building and take part in that, because we firmly believe that kindness is something that is extremely important, and that is another thing we want our kids to learn from a young age. We want them to know that it's never a wrong time to say kind words, that those are always something that can change how someone's day is going, and that they can totally shift perspective. And then 2 days after that, on November 15th, is our family reading night. So that evening, we're going to have the library set up to engage families to come in together and to read books as a family. And we're going to try to help them, again, as a family, to come in and to read and to be together, because reading is not something that is just for a certain age group, but reading is for the entire family. And I think that it's extremely important for that to be something that becomes a focus, because reading helps kids to learn. It helps to expose them to new ideas, and overall, it's been shown over and over that reading helps kids to develop into healthy adults.
I love your kindness program. That's so nice. Are you going to have a politeness program someday that is about please and thank you?
We're going to invite all the politicians to that. And make it mandatory.
And kindness.
And make it mandatory they attend.
You know, that might be a great idea for them. I'm not sure when World Politeness Day is. I'm sure we'll find it, but when it happens, we'll definitely keep that on our radar and try to make that happen.
Very good. Give us your hours there. Are they the same in both buildings?
Yes, the hours are the same. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we are open from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Tuesday and Thursday, we are open from 9 a.m. to 7 p.m. And Saturday, we are open from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m.
Well, you can't say that you can't find time to get to the library then, can you?
Yeah, we are definitely open 6 out of the 7 days a week, and 2 nights a week we are open well into the evening, so that even people who are working can come into the library. And of course, Saturday mornings we're open. So we try with our hours to engage different lifestyles and help people that otherwise wouldn't be able to join us to come on in and be able to use the library programs.
Excellent. Absolutely excellent. I commend all of you on the staff there. You've made library a whole new thing.
Oh, yes. No question about that. The addition to the annex across the alley was a huge thing. Some may have wondered why that was necessary, but you go in there any given day, and you'll see why it's used. It's used a lot, and and everybody. I want to emphasize it in the Carnegie Building itself and the annex. You just run into nothing but people who want to help.
And you know,
quietly.
If you don't want to get into the programming at this very minute, you should go to the Carnegie Building that was built in 1902. It's older than I am, Bill. And see it.
Yeah.
My gosh, that Carnegie Building is absolutely
it's an architectural
gorgeous.
gem.
Yes, it is.
It's just an architectural gem.
It is a beautiful building. It is definitely it shows its history in it, and it's something that I think is another hidden gem in Lincoln. Even just the architecture of the building. And of course, you walk in and friendly staff are there to greet you.
Yes.
We love when people come in. We love when people ask questions. And you can easily find someone that can help explain the history of the building for you if you have any questions.
Now, it's just absolutely gorgeous.
As I said before, when we had Richard on air as an earlier guest, young and dumb, I always thought that Carnegie, I thought our building, that was a Carnegie Library. Mm-hmm. I thought all buildings looked like that. Well, duh. That's not the case. But we just got lucky in the building that we have here.
Yeah, we are very lucky in the building. And of course, again, as the children's librarian, I appreciate having the annex building too, because it does still give us the space where kids have their own space, and I don't have to worry about we make a little bit more noise because we are the children's library. And it gives them a little bit more freedom to have their own space. And I think that is an awesome quality of our library.
As an educator, do you feel that to be able to express yourself at whatever age is helpful to your learning and to your enjoyment?
Definitely. Some of what I saw when I did my bachelor's in psychology was a lot of research on how kids develop and how kids learn and grow, and overall finding that if they're expected to stifle their creativity, to stifle their excitement, it can stifle their development too. And I think that it's extremely important for them to be able to have what I refer to typically as safe places, but places where they know they can go, they can be who they are, they can say how they're feeling, and they can be excited, they can be sad, they can be whatever they want to be or need to be. Because I think only when they get to be honest about that do they really get an engaging environment to grow. We like to talk about adults having bad days and us having days where we're sad or we're off. And a lot of times we kind of skip over that kids have those days too. And if we can help them to know how to express that appropriately and help them to see that, it helps them a lot. We actually are working right now. We have some books coming in that I'm really excited about that help kids to identify emotions. We have one that's a board book, so it gauges under 1-year-olds. That's all about our emotions. So it helps them to identify the emotions and give words to things that they may not have the words to describe yet. Inside Out is probably one of my favorite movies, just because it does that. It helps kids to identify, here's an emotion, let's look at this.
And they don't understand emotion, the very word, they don't understand that, or its concept, or what it's all about.
No, it's hard, and it's one of the last things we tend to give them words for. Mm-hmm. We start with, this is red, this is green, this is a ball, this is a square, and we skip over emotion, which out of their being is a large part of who they are. When they're happy, they're sad. We don't give them the words to say, I'm happy today, I'm sad today, until they're 2 or 3 normally.
Oh, but that's just an evolutionary thing. You know, when we were kids, you didn't talk about that. No, not very well. But I was, or I wouldn't be where I am today.
Oh, there's that to be said.
And nobody gave a toot. Nobody ever said, are you happy? Are you sad? You know, that was life. Some days you're happy, some days you're sad. So it wasn't anything that was ever talked about or recognized in the olden days. Was it, Bill?
No, that's a fact. Another side issue that we offer, another side service, is newspapers from surrounding communities. That little corner up there in the front of the library. And I think almost daily you see people coming in there and getting the Champaign News Gazette or the Pantograph or whatever, and sit there and quietly and read that paper, which is, again, a nice little service. Jessie, would you like to sum up a little bit before we lock the door on this morning?
Sure, of course. Thank you guys so much for having me today. I just want to reiterate that over in the Annex building, we have a lot of programs happening now. We have a lot up our sleeves. And for anyone interested, I encourage you to go to the library's website, lincolnpubliclibrary.org, and we have calendars posted for what events we have coming up. Every day there's a short blurb about what's happening at the library that day. Or if you have any questions about the Youth Services Department, you can email me. My email address is on the website. You can give the Youth Services Department a call. Feel free to contact us with any questions or to say, hey, I heard about this program. I'd love to hear more about it. We would love to get you signed up or get you more information about it.
Jessie, Sweeney, thank you very, very much for doing such a great job of representing the folks, all of the folks there at our Lincoln Library System. Thank you very much. We always try to close with a quotation. Boy, I looked and looked and looked. There's a lot of lengthy quotations, but I found one that's kind of cuts to the chase a little bit. Google. They can break you 100,000 answers, but a librarian can bring back to the right one immediately. Thank you, Jessie Sweeney. Thank you.